music now.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Deathmatch Russell Podcast. Let's get it on!
Come into the ring, step into the fire, see what you want, baby. If your heart has desire, and get out, get knocked down. Deathmatch Russell Podcast, Deathmatch Russell Podcast, Deathmatch Russell Podcast.
Oops, we're in it. Good evening, everyone, and you're listening to another episode of the Deathmatch Russell Podcast. My guest at this time, the one and only, what is this? Old school Johnny, not Johnny.
Whoa! Hold on there, DM. Hold on, Deathmatch. I'll take care of this. I know it's a lot. I know it's a handful. I've had enough practice. I'll be able to do this. Introducing to you for the first time ever on the Deathmatch Russell Podcast. This is the Prince of the Pompadour, the Sultan of the South Side, rockabilly royalty, old school cool, Damien Gray. Nice to meet y'all.
Ooh, all right. Sorry about that. Sorry about that, Mr. Damien.
Hey, no hard feelings. We're starting this from a good place here.
Yeah, and you got a little something on your shoulder right there. What is that? A little
Yeah.
belt?
That I do. It's my pride and joy right here. I call it Judy. She is the Rocket Pro Wrestling Tag Team Championship, one half of the championship, but one of the belts. I share it with my tag team partner Johnny Nye, as well as Kevin Cade of the Idols, representing over at Rocket Pro Wrestling, the newly in charge of Rocket Pro Wrestling Idols, I might add.
Oh, we have somebody watching in the chat right now. Shout out to him, Damien Saint, the one and only GM over at their Rocket Pro Wrestling, I believe.
Oh,
Yes,
absolutely. Sir. We have a good relationship with Mr. Saint. It's nice to see you. Good looking as ever. I can't see you, but I'm assuming. And your name sounds sweet in my ears.
Yeah, just like we got John Perry watching now. Shout out to John Perry. There you go. Hey. Look at that. We're getting the views tonight.
There we go. Some people are coming. Good. Glad to see it. It's going to be a good conversation.
They know that you're in the house. You're in your studio. I'm in my studio. So.
Yeah, well, I guess the reputation precedes me. I am, of course, joined wrong side by my co-host over here, Mr. Presley, by the way. So he'll be probably chiming in a couple times.
I'm sure he will with the what do you call it? His peanut butter and sandwiches and whatever. Yeah,
fried peanut butter and banana sandwiches. Ain't no food better.
No, but anyway, so what got you into wrestling? Well, let's start off the easy, back to old school wrestling. What got you into, as a kid growing up, wrestling? How's that?
Yeah. I've had actually a pretty weird journey with pro wrestling. So I did high school and grade school wrestling, in the singlet and on the mat in the circle. My dad was actually an old wrestling coach in the Chicago public school system for 25 years. So kind of grew up around that. I did that my whole life. But I got into pro wrestling in kind of a weird route. I was probably like 9 or 10 years old at the time. And one of my neighbors, he had all the wrestling video games. I was probably about 8 at the time. And he had all the early wrestling video games right when they were going over to SmackDown versus Raw from the No Mercies and all that. So we had all those. And I knew nothing about pro wrestling, but he had these video games. So we'd play them together. I was obsessed with playing Boogeyman as well. I don't know why. He was not rated very well in that game, and I lost a lot. But I started with the games, and my buddy was like, "Hey, you wanna watch WrestleMania?" And I'm like, "What's a WrestleMania?" So he invites me over. It was WrestleMania 23, and I ended up watching it and falling in love in one night. with the whole storytelling, the whole, big personalities, big dudes beating each other up, and these blood feuds that were coming to a head. It wrapped everything up together. So from that point on, I kind of watched everything wrestling that I could. Over the course of a year, I went from never watching it all to watching it 4 nights a week, pretty much every night, because I would watch. This was early in the WWE CW run, so I would watch Monday Night Raw. I'd watch Tuesday nights. I'd watch ECW. Wednesday there was no wrestling on. I'd usually then spend some time watching all those weird like early web videos that the WWE would put out.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. A lot of those. So that was my Wednesday nights. Thursday was TNA, and Friday was SmackDown.
I'll tell you what. TNA, my video closet was stacked. I still have the VHSs from like the library, like with the early days. I mean,
yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong. It was a really great product. It was. And the house shows they ran were great because they came around, and
Mm-hmm.
we got to see that side of them that people wouldn't see of that.
Oh yeah, and weirdly enough, after about 3 years of watching wrestling, right when we were getting around WrestleMania 26-ish, I started to become a little bit more of a TNA fan than I was a WWE fan at the time. That was kind of in my eyes, at the very least, and this may be some nostalgia coming into play, but in my eyes, that was definitely the golden age of TNA. You had AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Bobby Roode, the Motor City Machine Guns, Kurt Angle, Sting,
Jerry Lynn. Come on.
Yeah, yep, Jeff Jarrett. Yeah, they were stacked on stacked on stacked, and I fell in love with it around that time. And I was actually lucky enough. I went on a family vacation down to Universal Studios when they were filming out of there, and we were just randomly walking. We just grabbed like a bite to eat for dinner, and someone comes up to us like, "You want to go see a wrestling show?" And I was obsessed with pro wrestling. I'm pretty sure I was wearing like a Jeff Hardy shirt or something at the time. And they come up to me, they're like, "You want to come see a wrestling show?" I'm like, "Wrestling show? Wait, it's not Thursday," because I didn't know they pre-taped. I was, 10 years old. I was like, "It's not Thursday. It can't be Impact."
I got a story for you for WWE when we get to it. But
Oh yeah, well the story's almost over. We ended up going. It was a 2-show taping that they did at the same time, so 2 Impact shows in a row. And I ended up dragging both my parents to it. My dad loved it because he got into wrestling when I did. He ended up going to all the live shows with me and stuff and getting into it. My mom was bored out of her mind. She had 0 interest at the time, but her being a saint, she took me along to like see 4 hours of wrestling while we were on a family vacation.
Gotta do it, man. Gotta see some wrestling. Come on. It's like, what are you gonna you'd be sitting back at the hotel room flipping through the channels watching HBO or Showtime.
Yeah.
There's like nothing on the channels, like the weather and the guy and the local boring commissioners meeting or the school board meeting of a local, and then the tourist ads, of course,
Absolutely. And you know what? My mom was kind of giving me a little bit of slack about it later in the night. And I'm like, "I don't think you understand. I got a high five from Beer Money Incorporated, Mom." And she's like, "You shouldn't be talking about beer. You're 10 years old. Don't I'm like, "What? But they're awesome." So I ended up getting a high five out of it. And you know what? It made my entire trip as like a 10 or 11-year-old at the time.
Yeah. I remember one year at Christmas time, my sister and I in New York City, we go to that restaurant. WWE had that restaurant. So we walk into the front lobby of the merch place, look around at all the merchandise, all is cool. And this lady says, "They're going to be filming live tonight." I didn't realize. So it was, and so I was standing behind Michael Cole and Taz while they were doing the commentary, and they were broadcasting. I guess it was Charlotte, North Carolina. It was a Ric Flair. I guess it was in Ric Flair's. So it was like a Big Show versus Chuck Colombo, and Steve. And then I guess they brought out the commercial. I guess they cut the commercial, and then they took footage back from Austin and Booker T in the supermarket.
Okay. Yep, I know the segment.
Yes. And so, and I don't know. I call it, of course. Hey, mom, can you videotape me? I'm gonna be on TV tonight. Like excited. Yes, I can do that for you. Okay, and so I'm cutting it up with like Chuck Colombo's in the ring and Perry Saturn, and it was just fun. Like we were like, Taz was like, "Who's the master of the figure four?" We're like, Ric Flair, woo! We just had the crowd going. It was funny, just a cool experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. How old were you at the time?
God, I had to been about like probably like 19.
That's got to be real cool, especially when you're just coming out of that high school age and you're getting that freedom, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is the real deal. I'm gonna be on TV. I get to get a kind of peek behind the curtain and experience the whole thing. That had to be awesome.
Yeah, I have it on. I got a friend found out. My friend finally digitally remastered it, and I'm like, wow, thank you. And then I found it on. I do have I'll send it to you. I found the one of those sites, Daily Motion, had the whole Sunday Night Heat episode. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was great experience just to be. But then of course TNA used to come around a lot to my area, so I would go watch the house shows and see, in like Asbury Park or Rahway, New Jersey, or like just the basic places for some wrestling. It was pretty neat, those experiences. And of course, like even like experiences as well as like being at ECW's One Night Stand in the Hammerstein Ballroom. Like I blew my mind.
You were there live
for the part 2, night 2, yeah.
That's incredible. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm a little envious. I don't have nearly as many historic shows that I've been to live. The two that stick out in my head is I was at the last ever Judgment Day in Chicago when I was a kid. Went with my family and a couple buddies of mine, and that was the first pay-per-view I ever went to live. And then other than that, I was at the live show where Jinder got the belt. Jinder Mahal beat Orton. It was Backlash, I believe. Yeah, I was there with my girlfriend and a friend of mine at the time. So other than that, though, I don't have those historic moments. That had to be awesome, being able to be at the Hammerstein.
Yeah, I've been there before for Ring of Honor's final battles. A couple of the fantastic. So I got to like see Bryan Danielson, Kibosh, like Kenta, and just all the the Chris Hero to the Claudio to the just the good mix of the wrestling was really the rest. Kings of wrestling at the time that they were.
Yeah,
great tag team. And Briscoes, and list goes on and on and on. And young Seth Rollins, as Tyler Black, And I actually tell people to this day, I went to a show at a bowling alley, and it was like a dark arena, and they called it Gung Ho Wrestling, and he wrestled Davey Richards in a 1-on-1.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
And Necro Butcher was there, and Steve Monster Mac, and a whole Eddie Kingston. That it was like great, just like
yeah. Well, that's also the best thing about independent wrestling is you get to go around and you get to see people who knows where they're going to be a couple years from now, who knows what direction they're going to go, but you get to see some amazing, incredible wrestling that's right in front of your face. You don't have to wait for a tour or anything like that to come around. It's just there.
And I don't know if you heard that guy, Joey Janela. I saw him when he was like 12, 16 years old, just starting out as wrestling. Come on, like crazy. I've seen his career grow,
Yeah, and then you get to follow as well, like the story of their character, of their person, of how they develop and grow as a wrestler and a human.
The Carney Wrestling of New Jersey, it was, oh my God, I have to send you the footage. I'll have to send you, you'd be like, what the hell is this shit? But we had Ken Anderson. We had Ken Anderson, the Boogeyman, of course, that was always popular. Marty Jannetty, though. Just everybody came through the door. It was pretty cool, though, an experience just to see like the real deal superstars, coming to town for one day,
Yeah, and you know what? It was, I have to say, getting involved in wrestling was a little bit of a culture shock at first, because it's one of those things where you're like, oh, this is someone that, especially because I'd been into not only just, the big promotions, but I was big into the Chicago indie wrestling. Not big into the scene when I was like, 19 or 20 or anything like that, but right before I got into wrestling. But when I was younger, when I was, 18, 16, 15, even back to like when I was 12 or 13, me and my buddies were going to AAW shows. We were going to
I
a lot of
still-
smaller
I
promotions in the
still
area
haven't.
as well.
I still haven't gone yet. They're coming to AC, but I'm debating it. It's like holiday week almost. It's like hard.
Oh, they put on a great show. I have
I
a lot
know.
of buddies who are wrestling up there. A lot of the other Black and Brave kids as well that are wrestling up there now. They're doing a great job. It's a great roster. But when you then get into it and you get involved in it and you become kind of a part of that club, a part of that business, it's you gotta lose that fan aspect kind of quick, because you don't want to be a pushover. You don't want to be anything like that. These are your coworkers, your friends, or enemies in some cases.
I mean, and it's great because I just saw 3 of my friends just wrestled this past week on Raw, AEW Dark, the Primal Fear. So,
okay, yeah. That's one thing too. Not to change topics too rapidly or anything like that, but while we're just kind of on the topic of the wrestling business as a whole, I've had a lot of people that I know get a lot of good opportunities with like AEW Dark or with WWE recently, and it really is good to see how the wrestling world is kind of becoming a little bit more of a land of opportunity.
We're proud of them. We're really, really proud of them. It's
you get to see people getting shots to put on their craft and to do their art form in front of a massive audience, and it's opportunities that just weren't there 10 years ago. So it's really good to see a lot of people get to kind of shoot their shot and shine their little star up. You know what I mean? So it's really good to see how the wrestling world is changing, in my opinion, in what I think is a positive direction.
And you want to see yourself there one day as well.
Absolutely. Who doesn't? But you know what? I'm never
Yeah.
going to complain about where I am with this beautiful gold on my shoulder right here, and a group of rabid Rocket Pro fans that for some reason seem to hate my guts, even though I can't convince them that, we're the good guys in the situation. All right. We're correcting mistakes over there. It's all for the greater good, but I ain't complaining about where I'm at by any means.
No. I mean, you just go and do it. Start, taking it day by day, and you just go out to an event and go 1, 2, 3, and that's it. Call it a night.
Yeah. Also, I'm sorry, I don't want to distract or anything, but I just saw John Perry made a comment in there. He referenced one of my favorite wrestlers from when I was just starting wrestling, and one of the big things that caused me to kind of become a big TNA fan when he eventually switched over, Mr. Kennedy. That guy had a mouth on him. Oh, he could talk the talk.
He did. Kennedy was. That's like I said. He came to like a house show and just like a local show and just tore it up with the fans and just
absolutely.
Just random comments like I gained a freaking pound or 2. It was like classic lines and shit that he would just come up with. He came a long way in his career. So don't see him as much these days.
Yeah, well, he's running a fantastic wrestling school from what I've been hearing around the grapevine. But as well, I didn't want to, detract or to distract too much from the conversation. But that kind of I didn't want to gloss over Mr. Kennedy, or as he was in TNA, Mr. Anderson, when I was throwing out the shout outs to the golden age of TNA. That man was an icon and a big inspiration for how much of a loudmouth jerk I've become at times.
Yeah, I think I still have that T-shirt that he has. I believe in my closet. This Kennedy asshole shirt, a-hole shirt, or whatever that is. Yeah, man. But you look at the scene today, and Rocket Pro Wrestling is pretty awesome. I've seen a lot of good stuff come out of there, and then Damien's showed me the way. Show me the footage. If I could travel and go all the time, I'd go out to, travel, go to Rocket Pro.
Yeah, well, you know what? Believe me, I know how tough traveling can be at times. That's kind of the life of someone in the wrestling business. It's all travel, but yeah, it's a really fantastic company.
But I do give myself credit. I did get a chance to meet Damien Saint at the very first Game Changer versus Freelance Underground.
Yeah.
In Chicago, we went to the bar, the brewery. I guess there was a brewery, and then it shut down the next day, closed down completely.
Well, you know what? Maybe Saint had a little bit of an effect on that place. You see, maybe they didn't treat him right. People that are in with the
No.
idols, they get a little bit of influence and a little bit of sway around town, if you know what I mean. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, you know what? Honestly, Rocket Pro is a fantastic company, though. Currently being GM'd by the lovely Damien
Mm-hmm.
Saint, as always.
Pop,
Lovely
pop
as
plug,
always.
pop plug, pop plug. We'll call it pop plug.
Absolutely. Hey, I'm never going to miss an opportunity to plug someone with this
Yeah.
beautiful of a first name as Mr. Saint. But it's a great company out there. You know what? Especially now that we're in charge. But it's something special. There's a lot of production there. We're just there to kind of shift the direction, make sure that things play out in our favor rather than some of those old timers that are stuck there. So we're of course going to sway it towards the idols, but
Mm-hmm.
even before the production, the fans that they got, the locker room back there, it's a fantastic environment. You know what? If I think anything, I think that company's going to be going some places, and I'm glad that I can play such a crucial role in its success.
Yeah. Good things to come to, good promotions get their ways, man. It's like my local promotion, Titan Championship Wrestling.
Hmm.
We got a big calling and following out, fans and just people love it. It's just good wrestling. Good
Yeah,
wrestling. Independent stars from all over the world, come on.
yeah,
Like
and I'm never going to be upset about there being good independent wrestling
so
back with that
so
COVID
Titan
time.
so if my Titan Championship Wrestling's listening, check out this guy, old school Damien Gray. You never know. You can
Yeah,
pop
if you ever
pop
want
up
a
on his
loudmouth greaser, I'm your man.
book him, book him, book him, Charlie. Good.
But
Yeah,
But that's amazing though.
but
Everyone's got to have a home promotion. Everyone's got to have a reliable place to go to, and that's an amazing thing about wrestling is that there's all these
it's
promotions all over the place that you can follow all these stars too, and they're different. They're
and you just
different,
wish you could be, and you wish you could be there every single time, and be there to,
and you wish you could be at
keep.
all of them at the same time, even if there's one across the state at a different time, but they're running same date. You want to be at all of them. There's so much good wrestling right now.
I
It's not
know
like a drought of good talent anywhere. It's fantastic.
no, it really is. It really is. And I don't know if you, Damien, if you follow IWTV products.
Some
IW.
of them, yeah. Unfortunately, because I've been spending so much time doing the wrestling myself, I haven't had as much time to keep up. But I watch whenever I can.
Yeah.
I'm still the same obsessed fan that I was at 8 years old.
Yeah, yeah. IWTV really puts out a lot of good wrestling,
Oh yeah.
independent, tons of stuff. People don't even know what New South Wrestling is. Like, my gosh, that's like
Mhm.
top. People need to just keep on watching that because they got some good people coming out of there. And it's
Oh
not
yeah.
like Beyond Wrestling and just like all these odd name companies. These weird little, you know, Victus Pro, XPW. No, God, no, not XPW. They're trying to reboot that, but I'll shout them out because they're going to be in Newark, New Jersey, doing a show. So fans get out there and check that out. Newark, New Jersey, by the airport. Don't get run over by a plane though. Yeah, or crashing.
You'd have to be pretty high up if you're getting run over by a plane. Just gonna throw that out there, but maybe not the best analogy. But
Yes, yeah, but there's just so much, like we said. It's like we're infested. Yeah.
that's a good problem to have. That is such a good problem to have. I was so hungry for it during COVID, not just as to wrestle again, but even just to watch, to have that content back. Because the big companies that were still running, it just wasn't the same without the fans there and being able to
No, I
play
know.
on their
I know.
reactions.
Yeah, watching WWE with all these little Titantron, little video screens. Come on, fans.
Yeah, and
you're like, all right.
yeah, and you got to give credit where it's due too. I mean, I did quite a few during COVID of those, no fans, taped shows, everything like that.
Mhm.
But the people that were doing it, every
A lot
week.
lot of my friends were doing that. So for
Yeah,
shows, and they were getting away with it, and I was
but
there.
it's hard.
And then being in the mask, hanging out, wrestling, watching people wrestle in the mask.
Yeah.
Like
But it's hard when you don't have a crowd there, when you don't have a
Yeah.
audience there to feed off of, to play off of, anything like that. It's tough. So I got to give credit where it's due. The wrestlers did a fantastic job, all of them that I saw dealing with the circumstances, but it just wasn't the
Mhm.
same. It formed a craving, to not only just watch wrestling and of course to wrestle myself, but now that everything's rebounding and it's coming back and it's starting to thrive and grow again, it feels really great to see.
Let me ask you this, Damien. What promotions are catching your eye that you would like to step foot in?
Listen, when it comes to the promotions that I wrestle at, I do not discriminate. I do like to fight people anytime,
Mhm.
anywhere, under any rules. So I'm
Yeah.
never gonna discriminate. I'm never gonna, just throw my name out there like that, like, oh, I'll only wrestle for this guy. But there are a lot of great promotions out there. I'm always gonna shout out though the ones that are near and dear to me. I'm a Chicago local.
Yes.
AAW, as always, is putting out an incredible product. I'm going to plug RPW, Rocket Pro, again, because of
Yes.
course, but uh,
You're pro.
Freelance is putting out great stuff. Wrestle League is putting out great stuff.
Yeah.
You in the Chicago area alone, out in Iowa right now, of course, you got Revolver, who I was
Mhm.
lucky enough to help out on a couple shows while I was getting trained out in the Des Moines area, always putting on great shows as well. It's kind of
Yeah. They've had
for
some
those
help.
Impact guys and things like that. It's Sammy Callahan's promotion.
Yes. Good
And
old
shouting
Sammy.
out,
Good old
yeah, and
Sammy. Shout out. Yeah.
and I'm gonna give one more shout out in terms of promotions that I got eyes on, and that I've had great experiences with is actually Merrick Brave's company, SCW. I was trained out at Black and Brave, and that's kind of the promotion out there based out of the school, where a lot of the graduates out there are wrestling. There are so many good wrestlers on that roster telling great stories. The
Mhm.
fans there are rabid and they're dedicated, and they just love the company. They love the wrestlers, they love the matches, and it really is a family out there as well. So, if we're talking about the Midwestern companies that I'm a big fan of and that I think are going places, those are definitely up there.
Yeah.
And there's a couple that I'd love to go to. There's Wisconsin's got a really great scene going on up there with um, Great Lakes Championship Wrestling, and uh,
Mhm.
JWA is up there, and they're really starting to get kind of their own burgeoning scene. And then Swoggle's got a promotion up there too, which I've been hearing has been doing great. So the Midwest is a great area for pro wrestling right now, man. All the way from Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Iowa, Wisconsin. It's all loaded. So it's a
And if
great
you
environment to be in.
and if you took that trip east, ooh, East Coast,
Ooh.
you have a lot of promotions. You can Titan Championship Wrestling, H2O.
Yeah. I'd love to start branching out, start traveling a little bit farther. For recently, it's been mostly in the Midwest.
That's good. That's good
Of
though.
course, that's where I'm
Yeah.
based out of, and I'm starting to branch out. But let me tell you, I love to travel. I love to go to new
Mhm.
places, and I love to try new things in front of new crowds, in front of new people. So I am always ready to start expanding. And now that I think that wrestling's kind of fully back, that things are starting to flow, and everyone's kind of got their post-COVID legs under them again. I think now's the time to start reaching out, to start spreading out, and really kind of start spreading those wings in terms of where and when I'm wrestling. So,
Damien, let me ask you this: worst scare injury of your career? Ooh, like, have you ever done anything that really gave you a concussion? Any of the?
oh yeah, I've been concussed a bunch of times. I played football and I wrestled in high school and college for wrestling, and only high school and middle school for football,
Mm,
as well as then going right into this. I've been concussed a million times.
mm,
But honestly, one of the scariest moments that I had was right coming out of COVID. It was probably January 2021, like December 2020, kind of when the no crowd shows or limited crowd shows were starting to
mhm,
come back. And I made my debut like 3 months before the whole pandemic started. My first match was late November of 2019.
mm,
So I kind of lost practice a lot. I tried my best whenever I could get into a ring or get out to places where there was other
mm,
wrestlers I could train and practice with. I did.
mm.
But I have family who's immunocompromised, things like that. We had to really take things seriously. So coming out of that, I was a little bit rusty, a little bit out of practice. And I ended up taking this fisherman's suplex where I over-rotated myself just a little bit too far. And the guy ended up kind of coming down because I was over-rotated, so my back was a little bit up. He ends up coming down on me, and it just like whiplashed me back. Ended up bashing my head real hard off the canvas, and it was definitely a concussion because I didn't realize I was in a wrestling match at first. Afterwards. I kind of came to, I had enough sense to grab the rope before 3. But I had no idea what state I was in. I didn't know who I was wrestling. I didn't know where I was at.
Lights out. Yep. Lights are out.
It was all my fault. I over-rotated it. It was on me. I should have been smart. I should have evened out a little bit more so I wouldn't have had that happen, but I was out of practice. So that was a scary moment. The match ended up finishing. I lost. But I ended up making it out okay. I took a couple weeks off to heal up, and I'm good. Fortunately, knock on wood, that's kind of the worst pro wrestling injury I've had. I've had worse injuries in my life, but maybe a broken rib or a broken toe or something here or there while wrestling.
Ankle or just the basics. But
I mean, I'm missing 3 discs in my lower back where they got ground down to nothing. I don't have a labrum in my right shoulder anymore. Basically, it like tore.
You're not Randy the Ram, so.
No, I'm pretty beaten up. I'm only 25, but I feel like I got kind of the body of like a 45-year-old man at times. I tell people it's not about the year, it's the mileage.
I'm 45. I don't even look at it anymore. I feel it, but
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna shoot. If you're looking like that at 45, you're gonna be looking a lot better than I am. I might be hunched over at that point, the way I'm going. But you know what? It's worth every injury. It's worth every piece of pain. But
I think 25, I was partying my ass off. But
well, I'm doing that too. Don't get me wrong. I'm doing that too.
Yeah. Those days slow down after a while.
Yeah, eventually. But you know what? I've been telling people it's not necessarily the age of the car, it's the mileage. And in my case, I got about 350,000 miles on this thing already, even though I'm only a 97.
As they say, no gas, no brakes,
All gas, no brakes.
All gas, no brakes. That was a T-shirt I just came up with, actually. A new one for my shout out to Titan Championship Wrestling for that plug.
Perfect.
Hey. But
this train don't stop. That's the way to live your life. Keep it going, keep it running. I mean, shoot.
Yeah.
None of us make it out of this thing alive. Might as well take it at full speed, right?
Okay. Favorite heckling moment at a show. Ooh.
Oh, for me,
like at a fan. Oh, I know. There's like an old lady or just a kid that just really gets under your skin. That really.
Oh, okay. I got 2. One is my favorite one that's happened to me, but my other one, favorite of all time, I was actually working security for. But my favorite one that happened to me, there's this group at Rocket Pro. I don't want it to sound like that's the only place I wrestle, but
this group's
there's this group there called they call themselves the Lovely Intoxicated Men. They are just a group of like 20-something-year-olds that are hammered at the show. They're having the time of their life. They love Chet Gunderson, former, like a guy in the company that they're obsessed with who wears lederhosen and broke his leg and stuff. They're nut jobs is what I'm getting at. But there is not a single match that goes by where I don't have to hear these little guys in my ear the whole time. Just they're incessant. They're incessant. But anytime that Flash Harris, who is also an idol, interacts with them, any of those heckling moments will take the cake for me. But other than that, I have to say there was at Rocket Pro another one. There was this one guy, little kid, probably like 10 or 11 years old, who kept swinging too high for the fences. He was in love with the guys we were wrestling against, and he wouldn't shut up. I warned him about 3 or 4 times. So I get in the ring. I take his favorite wrestler, drape him over the rope, standing on his back, choking him out, and I look him dead in the eye. I'm pointing at him. I said, "This is because of you. You did this. You specifically, kid in the blue shirt, right there. Get off before the 5 seconds. Hop back on. And I don't want you to forget that he's gonna remember this too. He won't like you anymore. I'm just going in on this kid, and he is terrified. He feels so bad that his favorite wrestlers are getting choked out because he couldn't keep his mouth shut. But the best heckling moment I've ever seen it's more of an individual than a moment. I call her Grandma. I have no idea what her real name is, but this is out at SCW. While I was in training out there, I was working security. And every show, she is probably almost 80 years old. She is in a scooter. This very frail old lady, who goes with her family or grandkids and everything. But she is a rabid fan. She loves wrestling. She eats, breathes, sleeps wrestling. And every time that one of the heels comes out, she is ready to fight. There was one time, there was this wrestler out there. His name's Connor Braxton. He's about like 6'6", just massive, big dude. He's also one of the first Black and Brave graduates, actually. And she hates his guts. She hates his guts. She was throwing stuff at him, everything like that. I had to walk over there several times and tell her, hey, you need to calm down. Like, listen, I'm glad you're into it, and I'm impressed at the fire you got, but you need to chill out. Well, he comes over there. She gets up with her cane and is going after him. Now, he's doing, a brisk walk away and outpacing her, but she is trying for blood. And I eventually had to literally grab her and with her grandkids as well and pull her back to the seats.
Oh, boy.
But after that, let me tell you, I had a conversation with her. We actually had a drink at the venue after the show, and she became one of my best friends out there. I love her to pieces. But she had no fear. No fear. She looked me dead in the eyes after while we were drinking. She's like, I was a nurse in Vietnam. You think I'm scared of that little puss? I died laughing. I was cracking up. So that's my favorite heckler of all time. She's the greatest.
Man, I can't think of my. I got the block. I'll tell you the block Twitter block I got in heckle. I used to hate that guy MJF jerk.
Oh, yeah.
So every time I would go to a show, I'd bring my toilet paper. A little streamer action, just with him and
of course
Joey's ex-girlfriend at the time, But anyway, it was just on Twitter. I said to one of my buddies, I feel like taking a dump in this guy's house. Damn, you got deleted, kid. Thanks. Yeah. But you know what? I have footage of me, and it's going to a Combat Zone wrestling show, and it was a pay-per-view, and Ricky Shane Page wrestled MJF, and the old fan slap around, the old walk around the ring, chop people. Well, I had the loudest chop of the night on MJF.
Oh, yeah.
I got that footage. I'll send you that. You get a kick.
Please do. Please do. I'll be watching AEW getting mad, sitting there in my couch. And I'll flick to that, and it'll make me feel a little bit better. A lot of bit better. Great wrestler. Very punchable. Very, very hittable.
Yeah, too much on the mic, but, whatever. That's just him. Yeah.
The hand had to hurt after that, I imagine. I got to imagine you crammed about as much force as you could into that. It's like one of those anime scenes where the power's charging up in the hand when one of those things, Dragon Ball style.
Yeah, He-Man stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Captain Grayskull or whatever the hell his thing. I can't remember the characters.
Skeletor, if you're talking He-Man, at Castle Grayskull.
That's it, Castle Grayskull, yes.
Oh, yes. I loved He-Man as a kid. It was a little bit before my time, but I watched those Saturday morning reruns of it, and I was obsessed.
Yes, we had the toys and all of it. Yes.
Oh, I had all of them. Yep. I had Castle Grayskull itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like WWE. We had the figures, So
yeah. Oh, my parents wouldn't buy me those. I'd get too many of them.
Yeah. Do you like to collect anything? Are you here and there? Fun, wrestling wise, yeah.
Yeah, honestly, other than titles, if you know what I mean. other than titles and W's, I'm not a big collector, honestly. I tend to like if I find something really cool that I like, I'll do that, but it's not like a theme, you know what I
I know
mean?
what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like I have some cool old memorabilia from anything from baseball, football, hockey,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
wrestling. I got a random Elvis cutout behind me. It's
I know.
mirrored. I keep getting
Yeah.
that screwed up. Um,
But
but nothing that's necessarily a big collection. I guess
mhm.
hats. I have a lot of hats because this when I can't do
Yeah.
the hair, if I'm going to the
Yeah.
gym, if I'm doing something where I'm going to sweat all the product out, I don't want it in my face, so I wear a lot of them. So I got a hat for probably about half of the baseball teams, like a handful of
Yeah.
hockey teams, stuff like that. So I collect those.
That's
But I
cool.
was never allowed to have the figurines as a kid. I would have collected them obsessively, is the
Mhm.
reason why. So I'd always ask for them, when I'm 8, 9 years old. Ma, can we get one of those rings for Christmas or whatever? But they were smart. They were
Yeah.
smart and they avoided that because that would have been a hit to their wallet and then my wallet once I started making my own money.
Yeah. Once we hit those flea markets, yeah, I know. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so I tend to try to stay away from it, mostly
Mm.
because I know I'll become obsessive with it, and I need to spare my wallet.
Mhm.
Anytime I get into something, I tend to kind of really dive into it.
Mhm.
Like when I was in high school, I got into paintball, and I couldn't just go once or twice in the summer. I joined a team. We played tournaments. We did all this. I was spending every dollar I got on gun upgrades and
Yeah.
more paint and more everything like that.
Yeah.
When I go into college and I get into theater, I'm auditioning for every play. If I'm not in it, I'm doing the stage stuff. I'm doing tech. I'm doing whatever. So I'm if I go into collecting, especially collecting things that are rare and the
Yeah.
price is based on pretty much what you're willing to pay for it.
Mhm.
I know that's going to be dangerous because I'd be willing to pay too much, too
Yeah.
much.
I don't even know what the last time I bought it was. I don't even remember. I haven't bought anything in quite a while. To be honest with you, Think- you know, I think I bought a Road Warriors. Well, rest in peace, Road Warriors. I've seen them. So, oh no, my last purchase was my friend got me a Mick Foley double pack because Mick Foley was at that Game Changer Wrestling weekend down
Yeah,
in Atlantic City. So, yeah, I had to got that signed. That was like one of those things you have to have signed.
you gotta. I mean, look, if it's a legend like Mick Foley, you gotta get whatever you have signed. If you don't have anything, he's signing
Mm.
my boobs if I don't have anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. He's the nicest guy you'll ever meet in wrestling for sure.
I thought
That's
I thought he died so many times as a child, and this is going back and watching the tapes. So I knew he lived, and I was convinced he was dead on like 12 occasions. So that man deserves all the love he gets.
well. I like to tell the story how I was a young kid and actually got to see him face Doug Gilbert in a hardcore match in a local high school. Right, like crazy, right? Like you just wouldn't think
Yeah.
about it. Cactus Jack, the real gimmicks, and
Oh yeah, straight up, straight up. I
trash
gotta
can.
ask, what was your first ever live show that you went to wrestling? Since we're talking about old school wrestling for old school cool. What was the first live show you ever went to?
WrestleMania 5 Atlantic City.
That was your first live show ever?
That was my first experience, yes, because
That's
I
awesome.
still have the ticket stub. Yes, sir.
That's incredible.
I always tell the story how my dad got tickets, and we Christmas time.
Mhm.
Hey, got me tickets to WrestleMania. We sat up in the nosebleeds, way up at the top, holding my Mega Power sign. Mega Powers
Mhm.
explode.
Oh
Hogan
yeah.
band, Hogan merch, and all the crazy merch you would buy, and
Mhm.
3 rows next to us or 5 rows next to us on commentary was Jesse the Body and Gorilla Monsoon. To be there in the presence of that, to hear them on the mic was like, and to go look down on the crowd and hearing a microphone, because you would hear the thump of the ring because they would put the microphone
Mhm.
under the ring
Right.
to hear the spring of the ropes and
Yeah, to
thump of the
capture that audio.
ring. But to be there, that was pretty wild. That was my first.
Well,
But
that blows
but
my story out of the water. I'll just shut up.
well,
Keep.
I-
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. We also had a promotion. I'll tell you a couple stories. I have couple stories like wrestling related, and
Please do. I'm happy to hear them.
well, there was a company called NWF Wrestling, and they came to town. They went to an ice rink, my local hockey rink, and I got to see Bruiser Brody inside a steel cage versus Chief Jay Strongbow and Abdullah the Butcher.
That's awesome.
Dr. D. David Schultz, the Fantastics, yes, the Executioner, and just the Samoans, and then then there was this local wrestling school that just started up, Iron Mike Sharp's wrestling school.
Mm-hmm.
And every Saturday, I tell my dad, "Hey, let's go see some wrestling for $5. $5, go see some wrestling." I would watch X-Pac as the 1, 2, 3 kid. The Wall from WCW.
Mm-hmm.
Nova from ECW, because he was the trainer at the school. And fast forward, his brother ran a promotion in the mid-90s called Phoenix Championship Wrestling, which hosted Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, the Wall, just you name it. They've been through the doors. They've been there. Everybody's come across the scene. The Haas brothers, Charlie Haas, rest in peace, his brother. It's just.
That's also, you're just in a great area for wrestling too. I mean, that kind of like tri-state triangle area, between like New York, Philly, Jersey, that whole kind of like mid to like upper East Coast. That is like a mecca of pro wrestling. Other than really like, the Carolinas and Georgia. Is there anywhere that has as much of a history?
I don't know. It probably is, and I just don't know.
Well, at least in the States. Of course, there's Lucha down in Mexico, and Japan has its own history as well. But
I think Georgia has the AEW, the Nightmare Factory over there. So I'm sure people, could hop in there and check that out.
Yeah, and you know what? In those areas too, they just got a history of wrestling. There's a promotion in every town, on every street corner. That's where WCW was based down there, and they were based out of the South, and that's like in the age of the territory is that was like
Philadelphia. Yep, that was Philadelphia. ECW, the 2300 arena now, or whatever they call it, and but MLW runs out of there, and just a lot of promotions, and Tommy Dreamer's Hardcore Hustle or whatever, he does a one night stand. ECW, we kind of like he'll try to bring something just to get fans to come and see wrestling.
Hey, that's never a bad thing, and it's a good area. There's so much great wrestling out there. It's fantastic. So, not to harp on the same point, but there's great wrestling everywhere. Make sure just anyone who's watching this, go check out your local indie wrestling promotion. You never know who's going to be wrestling. You never know what kind of talent you're going to see, and you never know what kind of crazy show and amazing stories or interesting, wacky characters that you'd never see on a big TV. That you never see, a large company even try to execute. You never know what you're going to see. So it's a unique experience, and I encourage everyone, if you've never gone, go. But I don't know why you'd be watching an indie wrestling podcast if you've never gone. So,
people just watch that WWE Mark stuff, but Mark, not me. I'm not Mark. You know what I'm talking about. But the seed today is wrestling, but they are over their heads on podcasts, But let me ask you this: what are you currently watching? As in, like TV, any kind of movies? What any kind of catching your eye right now? I have like wrestling's my thing right now.
Of course. Yeah, and wrestling's going to be the given. I've been watching in wrestling. I've been watching everything from WWE. I've been watching AEW. I've been watching a lot of NWA. I love their online stuff.
Wait a minute. Speaking about WWE, I just recently actually, when I was in Atlantic City, this past month, I actually I got a ticket thanks to the person wanting to use my charger. I like telling this story. This is a new story to tell. WWE was doing a house, the Sunday night Sunday Stunner or whatever it was program, and I ended up with a floor ticket.
That's awesome. That's great. How'd you end up with that?
Lady wanted to charge her cell phone. I have
And but
I
like
had my charger block with me.
no, but like she was willing to straight up trade the floor seat. Like she knew what she was giving away. That's what I'm asking. Like,
like I was looking for tickets. I was looking for tickets that night, to see
yeah.
where I could get close enough to the ring. But this lady, it's like, hey, can I use your charger for like 5 minutes? I'm like, I'm trying to look for tickets. I have a ticket right here. I'll be scanning it for you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
shoot.
I got to see
bad trade to make it all.
No, but I got to see and perfect timing because I think I was like I got the second half of the show, so I got to see like Ricochet versus Gunther, Gunther or whatever his name, Gunner, and the Becky or something. I don't know what these wild Brie Bella. I don't even know what these girls are, but Asuka. I got to see Asuka. I'm like, that's pretty cool.
All for a phone charger. That's all it took. 10 minutes on a power bank.
Yeah. Isn't that insane?
Well, that's awesome.
To see the Usos, come on, man! Like in a bar battle, in a brawl match with a street fight with Sheamus. Come on, like versus somebody else. Like this is great. And I'm like, wait a minute. I seen the last time I saw Sheamus was like way back at a house show or like at a facing with Brody Lee at the time. Like oh my gosh, that's cool. It was just like amazing to see the atmosphere, of the newer crowd,
Oh yeah, and I gotta say, one thing that I really do like about a lot of those East Coast crowds is they're very similar to Chicago crowds in that we're pricks. I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I could say that word, but
yes,
okay,
I know.
We're not the nicest. We're a-holes, We can be a little rough, we can be a little mean, a little rough around the edges, and I like that in a crowd. I like that Chicago edge, that East Coast edge, and it really creates its own unique environment at a wrestling show. When you wrestle different places, you'll see, even if they're only 2-3 hours apart, you'll see big differences in the type of crowds that are there and things like that. So that's a good culture.
I was gonna say another promotion in the Chicagoland area is at that gala right there. The gala. I forgot about that place. I was a part of that, helped out the show for Game Changer. That was pretty wild. So cool experience for that, to be a part of that.
Hold on, I got a call out here. I don't mean to interrupt, but I see Steve.
Who's this Steve?
Steve has been a thorn in my side at Rocket Pro. He's one of our commentators who has been an antagonist of the Idols for no good reason. He's wound up getting himself tossed into a river, forced to stand while doing commentary just because he doesn't know when to shut his mouth. So, Steven, first off, I am a big Grease fan. It's a fantastic movie, and I don't see how that's going to be an insult. But second off, nobody cares. You're sitting here in the comments trying to be your little troll self, all right? Look, we've all seen you. You look like the typical basement dweller who spends all their time on the internet talking about successful people. I get it. You look at your own sad life and you want to take that out on the rest of us. But please, we are trying to have a nice conversation here, Steven. So if you wouldn't mind.
Man, people, easy there, commentators. They're a little nasty out there these days, a lot of those guys, I'll tell you. But they're doing their job. They're doing their job.
He's doing his job even if he doesn't want to. When we took over, just a little bit of backstory, when we took over control there after winning our Survivor Series match against Team Rocket Pro, I definitely have the ass for leather pants. Don't even talk about that. But when we took over control, he wanted to shirk his duties. He didn't want to work for us as a boss. Fortunately, he's contractually obligated to. So we're your boss, Steven. So shut up.
What do they say? Don't wear the what do they say? The granny panties. Don't wear the don't wear your granny panties.
Yeah. Look, if you can go troll some 12-year-old Fortnite streamer, okay? The adults are talking, Steven. Go handle someone who's on your intellectual level.
Fortnite kids. Oh man, that's great. Oh, he's still going at it. Yeah.
Oh, like I said, he doesn't stop. He doesn't stop. Let's not let him hijack our conversation here. His unpleasantness, Stephen.
You want to bring him on the stream? But I could. I
I'll
really
bring
could.
him on, but I don't think that's good for entertainment. I mean, his face
I
alone is
know.
gonna scare off the viewers. If you put that in the thumbnail, we're not gonna get any views on the back end. Anyone who's not in the live stream, they're gonna see him
You're
and run.
right. You're right. Maybe I'll have to catch him on a podcast sometime. All right, stay tuned.
If you do, set aside several hours. He will not stop talking the entire time.
No, he's more than welcome to. How's that? I can talk for hours and hours, but we got to go to work pretty soon. Tomorrow morning.
Eventually, yeah, it's starting to get to be that time.
Let me ask you. Oh God, he's all right. This is all right. True. Okay, let me ask you this. What, Damien?
Yeah.
What upcoming shows do you have, and where can fans see?
Yeah. Right now, of course, I'm gonna pimp Rocket Pro again. First, I'm just gonna throw that out there too, and then I'm gonna point out the fact that I do other shows. But yeah, check out Rocket Pro Wrestling, which is gonna be on November 5th. I've also been wrestling pretty consistently with Ileana Pro Wrestling, which is in like Richton Park right now primarily, although it's been doing it's rotated around a little bit. But Richton Park, Illinois. I've been wrestling fairly often with HCW out in Indiana, mostly out of Mishawaka, but they do some shows up near Niles, Michigan as well. I've been doing some shows with Great Lakes Wrestling Alliance up in Coloma, Michigan. Me and Kevin Cade as well recently wrestled out at AWE in Jackson, Michigan as well. So the idols have been branching out in that direction. So if you follow my Instagram page, you're going to absolutely see every single show that's coming, all the different ones that the dates may be up in the air or things at this moment. I always post where I'm going to be, so you can always follow where I'm at. But if you're at a show in the Midwest, I could be there. I'm wrestling all over the place, and if you're ever at shows where you don't want to, or where you don't see me and you want to see me, make sure to let him know. Old school cool Damien Gray is always out here. He's willing to fight anyone, anywhere. Steven, will you stop talking? They already know that November 5th that I'm going to be hassling Shogun yet again. All right, they already know that. You don't need to chime that up. I think you're so used to, Steven, having to promote everything you do because no one actually cares what you do. But believe it or not, people follow what the idols do already. So everyone who's seen this, they already know that I have beef with Shogun. They already know how that's going to turn out. So you don't need to interrupt.
But anyway, Damien, I want to say thank you for coming on. And
well, thank you for having me. It's been a real pleasure. We had a good conversation, and I'm always happy to talk wrestling. Yeah.
We'll do this again down the road. Road.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on. Thank you for everyone who's watching. If you ever want to check me out, of course you can. But it was a great conversation, and if I'm ever on again, it'll be a pleasure.
And fans, get out to a show and support this guy and buy his merch, and just be and say hello. Get an 8x10. Just shake his hand.
Come say hi. Come talk.
Yeah.
Well, make sure you're cool though. Make sure you're cool.
Gotta be cool.
All right, that's the one rule. Gotta be cool.
Hashtag. Ooh, I like that. It's like a gotta be cool T-shirt coming soon.
Oh, there is actually quite a few T-shirts coming soon, but I'm not gonna push that too far yet.
Spoil, right? Spoil.
Yeah, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but there's a couple coming soon.
Yeah. All right. But anyway, that's it, fans. What do I got, David? What do you got coming up this week? Well, Sunday night, I'll be listening to myself talk. No. This Sunday at 8 p.m. No, what time? Gosh, not. My time zone differences are always whack with these wrestlers. I'll be talking to. No, let me see here. I better go to it before I get yelled at. All right. This Sunday at 7:50 p.m. I will be talking to Indy Deathmatch Pro Wrestler from the Chicago, not from the Colorado area, from the Colorado area, and Looking forward to talking to him. His name is XJ Chaos, and I'm looking forward to talking to him and see what he's about and so much more, and talk blood and guts, and that's going to be a fun conversation about deathmatch wrestling and what he's done on the independent scene as well. And that's it. That's my podcast for the week. Stay tuned and check it out, fans.
Stay tuned. Keep watching the Deathmatch Russell podcast. Thank you, everyone, for having me on.
You're welcome. Good night, everybody. Now, if I could shut this all down, and you'll be okay. There you go.
You can find more Deathmatch Russell podcast on the following. Just hit the like button and share. You can hear the audio portion of Deathmatch Russell podcast on Stitcher Radio and on iTunes. Social media, Deathmatch Russell podcast on Facebook, Twitter at DavidNJ32, Instagram, DavidNJ36, YouTube, David C. Russell, and DeathmatchRussellPodcast.com. Joner's Wrestling Podcast Network. Head over to WrestlingWithJoners.com. Follow them on Facebook, Joner's Wrestling Podcast Network. Twitter at @WithJoners_pod. I want to mention Collar and Elbow. CollarandelbowBrand.com. Use the promo code Deathmatch Russell Podcast and save 10% off when you make a purchase. Deathmatch Russell Podcast.
Be sure to visit BrainbusterTees.com for Deathmatch Russell Podcast merchandise.